fantastic Scarlets performance hands Leinster just their second defeat of the season. My name is Mark, let's talk rugby. Okay, so I'm back from my holiday. I just actually got back today. So feeling a little bit tired. My voice is a bit, you can probably hear a little bit there. Just coming from, I guess it just happens coming from a warmer climate, right? But anyway, let's get into this one. So early on, Kelleher taking the man in the air, and Scarlets, they go up the line from that. They win another penalty as Deeney's not rolling away. It's right in front, about 30 minutes out, and you expect Costello, he's going to get this one, but he's actually off target with it. But it wasn't actually a bad omen for them because he was pretty good from the tee after that. From the dropout then, Scarlets moved the ball. Henry Thomas, he puts Plumtree through a gap. He goes marauding in behind the Leinster defence and sends Gareth Davis over to score. It's converted for 7 points to 0. Leinster then not releasing, and Plumtree gets over the ball. Scarlets go up the line from the penalty. Kelleher in at the side, and it's another penalty for them, pretty kickable, and this time Costello does nail it. 10 points to 0. There, Leinster then, they're coming forward. Byrne with a dink over the top. Turner can't gather it, and it's a knock on. But if he had got it there, he'd support either side, and they could have been in for a try. But Leinster, everything, they were a little bit off on almost everything today, honestly. Then before play resumes, Deeney has to hobble off. Injured, he's replaced by Dermot Mangan, who had a decent game off the bench. Then we have an early tackle on Frawley, and Byrne gets Leinster on the board, 10 points to 3. Leinster then playing the line, and Scarlets go to the corner. Leinster's defence initially forces them back to the edge of the 22. Then a strong carry from Hepburn on the right hand side gives them momentum. They manage to suck in the Leinster defence, and cross kick from Costello puts Rogers over to score. Very well worked try there. Conversion missed, 15 points to 3. Costello again then gets charged down at the restart by Mangan, and Jamie Osborne gets to the ball first to dot down to score, converted for 15 points to 10. And it felt like, around that time, kind of Scarlets a little bit kind of keeping Leinster in the game, because Leinster are not playing all that well, but a lot of their scores coming from Scarlet's errors, but then we have a Leinster error that leads to a Scarlet score. So Leinster attacking from their own half. Turner makes a half break out wide. They then look to go back inside, but Plumtree picks off Ross Byrne's pass, and he's away under the sticks. He was absolutely immense for Scarlets today. He did go off injured towards the end, so hopefully he's fit for their tour down to South Africa, because they're really going to need him, especially the way he was playing today. But it's converted for 22 points to 10. Leinster then attacking wide into 22. Great tackle by me to prevent Turner getting over. Recycled, and Mangan drives over to score. Conversion missed, 22 points to 15. Scarlets, then that's a halftime score. Scarlets then, they strike straight at the start of the second half. Kind of very Leinster-esque of them, really, because that's what Leinster generally do. They're normally the team that's switched on at the start of the half, but not this time. Blair Murray through a gap, and then he puts Roberts over to score, converted for 29 points to 15. Plumtree then pinged for a late charge and no arms tackle, and Leinster go up the line into the 22. Another pen, and then they go to the corner. Scarlets sack the lifter, and it's yet another pen. Leinster then opt for the line again. They go through the phases. Soroka goes close, then Clarkson puts Culhan over to score, converted for 22 points, or 29 points to 22, and that was kind of the story of the game, like Leinster coming back a little bit, but then Scarlets found something to pull away. Then Gus McCarthy kicks the ball as he's trying to kind of get up and roll, like get out of the way at a ruck. Like, looked accidental, but you can't do that. So it's absolutely a penalty to Scarlets. Johan Lloyd then nails the kick, 32 points to 22. Neck roll then on Soroka, and Leinster go up the line, but the line out malfunctions. And I thought Scarlets did really well today, getting up there, disrupting that Leinster line out, just putting pressure on everywhere they could, in defence, but also at the set piece as well. Then we have a great little kick in behind from Roberts, and Ross Byrne, he gets isolated close to his own line. It's a penalty. Van der Merwe then taps the penalty and goes close, but then Bird gets over the ball to win a penalty for Leinster. Then a little while later, Leinster break down the left wing. Osborne, McCarthy and Mangan all involved. Then Van der Merwe pops up again. Great tackle to halt the move there. Leinster seemed to have a little bit of momentum, but that really killed it. Leinster then win a scrum penalty to go up the line, but again, Scarlets pinch the line out. Again, I don't understand like a lot of teams where they don't, like they decide we're just going to leave people on the ground and we're going to deal with them all. Like, why not just throw somebody up and you're better, for me at least, the best chance to stop, whether it's a maul or wherever, is to stop it becoming a maul in the first place. Get up, make it messy, or pinch the ball. And so many teams don't do it, but Scarlets did really well today. But then, problem is though, they then knock the ball on and give Leinster a decent position on the edge of the 22. Another Leinster penalty at the scrum. They go to the corner. Like, Leinster going to the corner a lot, but Scarlets, managing to stop them getting over and just very aggressive in defence, off the line very quickly. Leinster ending up kind of going, backwards a lot of the time. And I could see with they had Finnegan at the start and then Foley to finish at 9, and both of them really struggled with the pressure. The pressure on them in terms of that line speed. Leinster to go off the top. Soroka, he does get to the line, but he's tackled well short of it, and he definitely crawled his way there. So penalty to Scarlets, and obviously no try. Boyle then breaks into the 22. Leinster, beginning to up the pace a little bit, but then Foley just bounced a touch into pass, or bounces a pass into touch. You never know. I was tired from travelling, would you? And really at this stage, time running out for them. And even as like a diehard Leinster fan, I'm thinking, there's no comeback in this team. Like they just don't have it. And something I've talked about a lot is that, the way to beat this Leinster team is to do exactly what Scarlets did. Go after them at the breakdown, line speed, make the set piece very messy, take the set piece away from them, but also have that lead and make Leinster chase, because Leinster are not used to chasing games, and I can see that very much in this game as well. Leinster then, trying to get the score that will give them one last chance in the last couple of minutes for a comeback, but there's huge defensive effort from Scarlets. It's keeping them out, and it's disrupting them as well. They can't get into any kind of rhythm, and it doesn't feel like one of those ones where pressure is building, and they're hanging on. It didn't really feel like that at all for Scarlets, honestly. That they weren't offering too much going forward, but at the same time they weren't camped in their own line, desperately trying to keep them out, giving away penalties or yellow cards and like that. They look pretty comfortable, honestly, in defence for the most part. They then get a penalty with just over a minute left on the clock, and that definitely should be that now. Lloyd lands a penalty for 35 points to 22. Scarlets then, in the last kind of minute or so, as we go into the red, they repulse a Leinster attempt to get a losing bonus point. Again, really good defence from them, and force a knock in the end. Full time then, and a really famous win for Scarlets. And really well deserved as well. It wasn't kind of a lucky win, it was built on just a brilliant performance from 1 to 23 from those guys. But some standouts in there, especially Tame Plumtree, but like Van der Merwe when he came on was excellent. I thought Gareth Davis as well, Costello very good at 10-2. The centres went well too, and then me. More on the defensive side of things, though, I thought did really well as well. But yeah, lots of really good performances from them. We're going to have a look at the stats and then we talk about each of the teams. So let me pull those stats up on the official site. Right, let me get it here. Let's hope it's up to date. Okay, so try scored, 4 tries to 3. So not just a win for Scarlets, a bonus point win as well, which is brilliant for them. In terms of giving them a real chance of making the playoffs. Obviously, they got to get something down on the South African tour, but if they'd lost this one, then it wouldn't have mattered really. I don't think what happened down in South Africa. Possession then 47% to 53. Clean breaks 12 to 6. And Scarlets did really well, especially in the first half. Finding space out wide against Leinster, and not just that, but also once they broke the line, a lot of those breaks actually stuck. Whereas normally you expect the Leinster scramble to actually kill the moves. It wasn't really happening that much. And then defenders beaten 35 to 27. So about 3-1 conversion rate for Scarlets. Defenders beaten into clean breaks, and then Leinster at about 4.5 to 1. So Scarlets again, you can see the fact that once they beat that player, it was more likely that they were going to actually break compared to Leinster. Then offload 6 for Scarlets, 7 for Leinster. Some really good offloads from Scarlets as well, just keeping the ball going and keeping Leinster kind of on the back foot as well. Then onto defence territory, 52% for Scarlets, 48 for Leinster. So again, that tells you Scarlets weren't kind of stuck in their own half and just kind of being battered at by Leinster. They were carrying the fight to them, and a lot of the time Leinster would come at them, especially in the second half, then they'd be able to clear, and some really good clearance kicks. I thought they used the kicking game certainly much better than Leinster as well, in terms of putting up contestable kicks, but also switching it up. Like a lot of kicks that were turning the Leinster defence and making Leinster really have to decide whether they were going to try and run it out of their 22 or whether they're going to kick back to a Scarlets back three that were set and ready to come back at them. So really good kicking from them, and that was a major part of why they had the edge of territory there as well. Number of tackles 110 to 122. Missed tackles 27 for Scarlets and 34 for Leinster. So tackle success 73% for Scarlets, 74 for Leinster. So neither team all that great in terms of their first up tackles, but again Scarlets they did better. Generally we expect the Leinster scramble to be better than the opposition. The Scarlets scramble was the better too. Today turnovers 1, 5 for Scarlets, 10 for Leinster. But the thing with Leinster was they'd win those turnovers, and like a lot of them were actually penalties. So they'd slow the game down, they'd go up the line. There wasn't very many where they'd turn the ball over and they'd actually break from it. Kicking then, kicks retained 6 for Scarlets and 1 for Leinster. That's what I was talking about earlier, was that kicking game for Scarlets, and the fact that they're putting up the contestables, but also that they were getting guys there atop. Plumtree, again, excellent in that, in terms of getting up there and winning the ball for his team, but he wasn't the only guy doing that. Then penalties conceded 12 for Scarlets, 11 for Leinster. Again, kind of follows the trend that we're seeing kind of towards the sharper end of the season, where both teams are actually in double figures for penalties conceded. Onto then players. So in attack, 9 points from the boot of Sam Costello, and very important because it kept that kind of gap to Leinster. If he was having a poor game from the boot, like Leinster, could have been very close there towards the end, and it might have been enough for them if they were only maybe chasing a converted try to win the game instead of a converted try to give them then a chance at getting another try to win the game. That it might have made a difference, but he was excellent today. Tries then, one for Davis and one for Osborne. Obviously, no double try scores in this one. Successful carries then. Tame Plumtree, as we mentioned lots of times, 6 from him. Alex Soroka, 5 for Leinster. In a losing team again, a bit of a standout there. Clean breaks, Tom Rogers with 3. I thought again he was really good today. Got over for a try, but all around game, excellent. Liam Turner with 2 for Leinster, but there wasn't, Turner, and I think he was in there with Tector right in the midfield. 2 of them very talented players, but for whatever reason, not really clicking as a unit just at the moment, and certainly not in this game. Defenders beaten then, Joe Roberts with 7, and again he got over for a try as well. Alex Soroka with 4 for Leinster. Meters made, Plumtree again 87. There's a reason why he got the player of the match. And Liam Turner with 77 for Leinster. Offloads then, Roberts with 3 and Andrew Osborne with 1. Onto defence then, Sam Lousy with 13 tackles for Scarlets, and James Culhan with 14 for Leinster. Lousy there in the second row, I thought, making a nuisance of himself, the breakdown, obviously putting all those tackles, but also doing the hard yards and the carries as well. Then turnovers 1, Tame Plumtree with 3 for Scarlets, and then Kelleher with 3 for Leinster. So you can see Scarlets players obviously edging the stats there, but you would expect that, again, I thought they were much a better team. But let's talk about each of the teams first. So we'll start with Leinster. A poor performance from them. And it never got going, but it never, again, you've got to give credit to Scarlets for that, because the way like Scarlets got off to a good start, and we see teams doing that against Leinster, but then Leinster just worked their way back in, and it felt like that was maybe going to happen with the halftime score, where it was 22-15, and then as I said before, Leinster normally switched on after the break. They got over for a try, and suddenly, they're either, back even at 22 all, or they're 2 points behind. But it was Scarlets that were actually switched on, and that, I think, was one of the pivotal moments of the game, was being able to stretch out to that 14-point lead. And after that, then, Leinster found it very hard to break the Scarlets down, and part of it was like lots of handling errors. There's like the official website, I don't know why it doesn't go over handling errors, but Leinster had, like, I don't know how many it was, but at one point they were at 22 handling errors. Weren't sure, they must have got up near 30 or over 30 by the end of the game. So obviously lots of changes in the team, but again, I don't think you can just put it down to that. Because Leinster do rotate heavily, and players are expected to come in and slot in and do the job anyway. So you can't just put it down to that. A lot of it was that line speed from the Scarlets, the willingness as well for the Scarlets just to keep going after. They were the ones that were chasing the lost causes, or looking to get to loose balls quicker. There was a few times where there was a ball loose on the deck, Scarlet's player got on top of it. Leinster, for whatever reason, just weren't at that same level. And you wonder, what's the thing behind that? Like, And part of it, I think, is that for Scarlets, win this game was absolutely, the most important thing for the rest of their season, whereas for Leinster it wasn't, and you could see that desire, the difference in desire. Leinster, it just felt like it wasn't there today for them, and the problem with that is that people say, oh well, it doesn't matter, it was only, it doesn't matter if they lost anyway because they're going to finish top of the pile and etc. But you don't want that kind of thing creeping into your squad at this time of the season, right? So that's a bit of a worry, because we've seen it in seasons past where they've cruised through the rest of the season, and then they come to this part of the season and suddenly little things like this come up, and they find themselves knocked out in semi-finals or beaten in finals or wherever it happens to be. But yeah, Leinster, as I said, not a brilliant performance from them. Not too many players kind of outside the the Champions Cup squad really putting hands up to, that if there are any injuries or anything like that, that's saying that, hey, I can come in and I can fill in and I can perform at that level, But on to Scarlets then, because I really want to talk about them. So right the first minute, they looked on it in this one, and it looked like they were on a mission to win this game. And even though they did kind of make a few errors to keep Leinster in the game, they another thing you have to do against Leinster if you're going to beat them is you have to keep that scoreboard ticking over, and that's what they did. Into the second half, they're the ones who scored first in the second half. Leinster come back, so they respond with a penalty, and then Leinster putting on pressure, but then they go up the other end, they win another penalty to put that over as well to extend that lead again. And that's what it was for them, was they never let Leinster get back level or get ahead of them, and that's one of the important things to beat that team is you have to have that lead and make them chase the game. If you make them chase the game, they're not as intimidating a team compared to if you're the team chasing the lead, or chasing their lead, because when Leinster are on it, any mistake you make is going to get punished, and you're trying to get back to maybe from 10 points down, you make a mistake and now you're 17 points down or 15 points down or wherever. Whereas Scarlets reversed that today and did really well. Again, set piece was excellent as well, both defensively and attacking. They used the kicking game really well. Their awareness of where the space was excellent, especially in the first half. Sucking Leinster in on one side of the pitch, then they'd go quickly to the other side, and picking really nice running lines to run through the Leinster defence. Support there for the runner as well. Options either side for them made it very hard for Leinster to actually scramble against them as well. And then the kicking game, the mixture of those kicks, those long kicks that turned the Leinster defence, but making sure that they weren't too long. A lot of kicks stopping just before the try line, and that's really it's a real skill to do that. Because we saw Leinster trying the same thing. At least I think maybe twice, but certainly once, where the ball goes over the try line, it's just dotted down pretty easily for a dropout. But the Scarlets had the weight of the kick really good. Then the accuracy as well of the contestables where they were doing the up and unders, and then also the chase. Obviously, the chase with that makes a really good kick into an excellent kick, and everyone all on the same page as well in that. So all facets of the game, I felt like Scarlets today were better than Leinster, including on the defence as well. Leinster going to the corner a few times. Yes, they got over. They got over for a couple of tries. Well, 3 tries in the end. But from going to the corner, I think it was. I'm trying to remember now. Yeah, I think it was 2 tries they got over for from those kind of positions. but there were lots of other chances for them. And the Scarlets, again, it wasn't that kind of thing where they were stuck on the line and Leinster were battering away. They were off the line quickly. They were pushing Leinster back. Within a few phases, they had Leinster at the edge of the 22, and then Leinster, were really struggling to try and get momentum back from there. And again, that's a team effort in that, and that's why I say 1-23 were absolutely brilliant today. It's a great win for them, but now what they've got to do is they've got to go down to South Africa. They've got to get something out of their games down there to make this win actually mean something other than it's obviously great to beat Leinster first time since 2018, first time in since 2022 or something that Leinster lost against a Welsh team as well. So absolutely brilliant, kind of isolated, but you want your season to be more than that. You don't want to be the spoiler. You want to make those playoffs, and they got the chance to do that now. Basically, similar to Ospreys last year, they've put themselves in a position now to, if they can get something down to South Africa, they're going to make the final 8. And we've talked about previously this year as well how under Dwayne Peel, this year they've been so much more dogged than they were last year. Being able to stick in games, being able to kind of grind out results, and which they absolutely weren't doing last year, and having a backbone in the team. And this is where now they've got to show that. Go down to South Africa, do the business down there, get themselves into that final 8, get into the Champions Cup for next year as well, and then kick on again. Whatever happens in the playoffs, it doesn't matter if they go out in the quarterfinals. Obviously they'll want to go as deep as they can in the competition, and we've seen in the URC, forget favourites for the title. We've seen it with the Bulls beating Leinster that first year where everybody thought like Leinster were the favourites, and then going on and losing the final to the Stormers. Then we saw like Munster coming from absolutely nowhere to win the title, and then Glasgow last year as well, going down to South Africa and getting it done. So if you're in that final 8, you have a chance to lift the trophy, and that's what they got to believe. First of all, though, they got to get there, and they've given themselves that chance now. They've now got to go and take it. But that's it from this one, because I've got to go watch now the Ulster game, and we'll have a review from that coming to you in about a couple of hours, I guess. Okay, so let me know what you think down in the comments.